The state of public emergency was declared in the area in January and has already been extended. The opposition believes the government needs a more comprehensive crime plan. Speaking at a divisional conference in Manchester on Sunday, Member of Parliament for Central Manchester, Peter Bunting, said the further opposition concedes the government has several questions to answer.
You can't want cooperation on state of emergency when you haven't answered the questions on the used car scandal for the police. Pay for them over a year and 3 months ago, and you still only get 30 out of the 200 15 months later, and you can't answer the question that I put in Parliament September last year.
He also pointed out that while the state of public emergency may be working in St. James, other parishes have been neglected.
St. Andrew South, murders up 209% in St. Andrew South. Kingston East up 82%. St. Mary up 100%. Clarendon up, Westmoreland up, Trelawney up, Hanover up. This was what they campaigned on.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the government says the declaration by the parliamentary opposition that it does not intend to support extensions of the state of emergency in St. James beyond August is a signal to criminals that there is no consensus on the fight against crime and the anti-crime measure will end shortly. A release from Jamaica House this afternoon said the opposition statement shows that the lack of political unity will bring the security measure to an end rather than a consideration of outcomes and results. Parliament is expected to vote tomorrow on an extension of the measure in St. James. But the opposition last week stated at a media briefing that it's the last extension it will support unless the government presents extraordinary measures to continue the state of emergency.
So what are the latest crime statistics? That report from TVJ's Andrea Chisholm.
Crime statistics show murders are up by 5.8% when compared to the same period last year. From January 1 to April 28, 2018, there were 471 reported murders. Overall, though, serious and violent crimes, murders, shootings, rape, and aggravated assault are down by 3%. And when combined, accusatory crimes, robberies, break-ins, and larceny are down by 1.8%. A breakdown at the divisional level tells another story. St. Andrew South is bleeding, 46 more murders, resulting in a 209% increase. 68 murders have been reported so far in 2018, while 22 were reported last year. In St. Mary, a 100% increase, 16 murders this year and 8 last year. There were also 10 more murders than last year in St. Andrew Central and Clarendon. The state of public emergency in St. James has allowed that division to record the biggest reduction in murders. St. James recorded 30 murders for the period, 60 fewer than the 90 recorded between January and April 28 last year. For St. Catherine North, where another state of public emergency is in effect, that division recorded 54 murders, 11 more than in 2017. The police have arrested over 3,100 persons so far this year, seized 244 guns, and over 4,000 rounds of ammunition. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
There's a new development in the case involving 8 Manchester men who are under investigation by the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA. It's in relation to a request made in January to buy more than 100,000 rounds of ammunition. The FLA has removed one of the individuals from its list of approved firearm training instructors. This was outlined in a brief notice issued by the FLA on April 23. It stated that the FLA will no longer use the Manchester Rifle and Pistol Club to conduct competence training until further notice. Sources say the FLA probe is at an advanced stage and a decision will be made shortly. The FLA began investigating the men after it found it unusual for so many rounds of ammunition to be requested. Reports also surfaced that a machine capable of manufacturing gun parts was also found in Manchester. The FLA has reportedly seized 40,000 rounds from one of the individuals, and the guns of 3 of the 8 men have also been seized.
3 persons died after 2 motorcars collided along the Duncan's bypass in Trelawney earlier today. 4 others were admitted to hospital with various injuries.
The images are too graphic to show, but after the crash, one of the motor vehicles, a Nissan Tida, burst into flames. 2 of the occupants who were trapped inside burnt to death. A woman from the red car, a Toyota Wish operating as a taxi, was thrown from the vehicle on impact. She died from her injuries. 4 other passengers of the taxi, including the driver, were taken to hospital. Their condition is not known.
The white that was overtaking coming down the direction to go to Falmouth, while it then occurred and the red Wish was going up, it then ride along on the front of the Wish and then into the top of the mirror view glass where you looked out as the driver, and then flick overturn on the front of the Tida and then overturn 3 to 4 times and occur on the wall and then explode.
The fire department said it was informed about the crash after 2 Monday afternoon.
On arrival at the scene, we observed 1 Toyota Wish and a Nissan Tida motor car fully engulfed. The brigade got into operation.
The 2 vehicles were traveling in opposite directions along the North Coast Highway. The Tida was heading to Falmouth, Trelawney, and the taxi to Discovery Bay in St. Anne. A report from the police traffic department says the Nissan Tida swerved into the path of the taxi. The traffic police also said the Tida's engine was dislodged from the vehicle. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, another motor vehicle incident today is still causing a major traffic delay along Spurtree Main Road in Manchester. It's understood that sometime after 2 o'clock this afternoon, the driver of a truck laden with molasses was traveling towards Mandeville when he lost control of the vehicle. The truck overturned, blocking traffic in both directions. The incident also caused an oil spill on the road, which, coupled with rain, has made the roadway slippery. Up to news time, traffic was still backed up for miles in both directions. Firefighters were also at the scene, waiting to wash the roadway once it is cleared.
A top story this evening, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang pleads with opposition to soften its stance on extension of state of emergency, saying the security forces need more time to do their job. And still ahead, JDF Coast Guard faced with questions over its response time to emergencies at sea. And in business news, thousands of jobs created last year, pushing unemployment rate to a 50-year low. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Continuing the news. Paul Coote, the 61-year-old man from Green Island, Hanover, accused of slaying his 2 children and their pregnant mother, has been charged with 3 counts of murder. A court date will be announced soon. The victims, 38-year-old Adonique Cunningham, her 2 daughters, 7-year-old Jayana Coote and 4-year-old Shanique Coote, are all chopped to death on Tuesday.
A man is dead and a family in mourning after he drowned at sea yesterday. But as TVJ's Giovanni Dennis reports, there are lingering questions about the response time of the JDF Coast Guard to emergencies at sea.
Residents from Mitchelltown, Clarendon gathered near the seashore to search for fisherman Levine Pommels, who went missing on Sunday. He left home about 8 yesterday morning with his fishing partner.
Them catch them fish and they were coming home back, but he was still looking for a pot in the reef there. According to his partner, while Levine was checking the next spot, the boat malfunctioned. The engine cover blew off and he jumped overboard, say he want to get the engine cover. And him say, the creeper that was creeping for the pot, the rope wrap up the propeller engine and shut down the engine. The mishap was rectified, but Pommels didn't return. His fishing partner, in shock, rushed ashore and was taken to hospital by a passerby. After relaying what happened, the Coast Guard was alerted. The search started on Monday, and by early afternoon, Pommels' body was found. His mother was, however, concerned about the response time of the JDF Coast Guard. I feel like somebody should go from last night because it happened from about, say, 2 o'clock yesterday. So somebody should be there from last night. But the Coast Guard said they couldn't get to go there last night.
But commanding officer for the JDF Coast Guard, Commander Antoinette Weems-Gorman, said the Coast Guard received the report 9:13 Sunday night and immediately made preparations to head out first thing on Monday morning.
Fishermen have alias names for places that they fish. And so when we get a report, we have to do some investigations, narrow down a search area. Up to this morning, I personally was speaking to fishermen to try and get them to give us a little bit more refinement on exactly where to search.
She explained that the Coast Guard has concerns about the number of fisherfolk who refuse to wear life jackets.
Generally, it's an issue with fisherfolk. Some have superstition about wearing life jackets. Some just can't afford it. Some are just not educated enough, or they think, oh, my father, my grandfather have been a fisherman for 20 years and they are fine with it.
She's appealing to fishers to call the JDF Coast Guard first if and when they encounter difficulties at sea at its 24-hour line. The number is 967-8193. Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
And in light of the tragic end to that search, we've decided to take a look at the perils fisherfolk face on a daily basis to bring our favorite seafood dishes from the deep en route to your dinner table. One Clarendon fisherman recounts a deadly journey at sea to catch dinner. Here's TVJ's Herman Green.
For fisherfolk across Jamaica, the journey to catch fish at sea is a regular but dangerous voyage. Steve Campbell, a Clarendon fisherman, who has done the journey from Old Harbour Bay to Pedro Keys too many times to count, is only too familiar with this danger. In 2017, the usually 5-hour boat trip had him staring death in the face for several days.
The time there is rough. Very rough.
On that trip, Campbell and 3 other seasoned fishermen went on their usual fishing journey. The plan? To return 5 days later with their catch. However, during the journey, their boat developed structural issues, took in water, and sank. With relatives not expecting them back for days, the men struggled, clinging day after day to what was left of their boat, trying to stay afloat and alive. He says before long, both of his colleagues drowned, leaving him alone, over 30 miles from land, with no sign that help would be coming anytime soon.
What feelings take me like say, I'm day night and day, I'm say, oh God, I feel like say, me have a leg on there, so then I feel I say, no, you know you can't do it and hold on, and same thing. Go on there and hold on and do the water, good on and come up on me, I say, oh, what I did I fight and now sleep and same thing, and I look out all boat round and road if we can't send help.
He explains that by day, the heat of the sun at sea is merciless. By night, the water is brutally cold. However, through it all, he had to stay alert.
Nah, sleep and same thing, because I can't sleep. Because I have to look out if I see the body pass. But I told me thinking, no. I don't say think to me, I say, 2 boats will come from sea. And I say, I go and pray, see they walking in my direction. But I check it out. They walk for half my man, they can't spot, they walk, they don't get to see me.
He recalls that just when death seemed inevitable, a Coast Guard vessel appeared on the horizon and sped towards him. He was excited and relieved, but the officers were suspicious.
The man one there for is a jokes boat that brought down, so they made it to it. So when they come to me and they tell them say, they can't come to me in here because where I get changed there, man. I say, that I'm strong enough so I can't jump out in the water. Because if them boat come, 2 boats will get together, they will lick up me. I mash up my foot and so I jump off and I see back. And the man they on me in the boat and I say, can't make a key and same thing.
He was taken back to land, questioned and then released. Steve's deadly experience is just one of many. Statistics from the JDF Coast Guard show that for the 6 years, 2012 to 2017, the JDF Coast Guard was called to search for and rescue more than 1,000 fisherfolk at sea. The JDF did not find just over 100 of those fishers. There is no update on their status. For TVJ News, I'm Herman Green.
Several residents were left stranded in their community today and farmlands impacted by land slippage following yesterday's heavy rainfall in Magotty, St. Elizabeth. TVJ's Kalisha Williams has that story.
Mud as far as the eyes can see, residents stranded and motorists trying to maneuver through the muck. This is a road, but the heavy rains in Magoti St. Elizabeth on Sunday caused a landslide blocking the Eldersley Main Road.
I was heading from Kingston last night, reaching about 1:30, and I realized that the road has been tearing away, so have to park my vehicle and walk.
Well, it has affected me that I should be at work and I'm not. My students are there and I'm not there to be with them.
Nothing could be salvaged from this Dasheen farm. All was covered with mud. The owner, Mr. Garnett, told us his losses amounted to at least $300,000.
I'm looking for my fund. For my fertilizer, my time, my plants, and the value of what I would make out of it.
The people took matters into their hands, clearing sections of the road on Monday, but their small shovels couldn't match up to the sea of mud. A private contractor had to be called. Although the road has since been cleared, residents believe the government should intervene to prevent a reoccurrence.
This thing need a wall. And this road we are fixed, you cannot give a shoemaker a mason job. And the government need to look upon this. This thing now work out. While them are too low, the soil wash over it in the road.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
It's not yet known when normality will return to the Bank of Jamaica following today's sick-out by unionized employees. TVJ News understands that the workers intend to continue their protest tomorrow. It's reported that the workers are upset that they were left out of a salary adjustment exercise at the central bank last year. They claim salary increases were only offered to managers and executive members. President General of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, Senator Cavan Gale, confirmed that the workers who called in sick included lower-level staff, supervisory employees, and some at the managerial level. The last time these workers received an increase was in 2016.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark is unable to give a timeline for the publication of the final report from the FinSAC Commission of Inquiry, which looked into the collapse of the financial sector in the 1990s. Earlier this year, then Finance Minister Audley Shaw said he expected the report to be available within a matter of weeks. Speaking on Power 106 this morning, Dr. Clark said FinSAC's job is almost complete.
With the exception of one or two legal cases that remain outstanding. The next thing to actually bring that era to a complete close will be the publication of the report and for there to be a discussion and conversation about it.
Dr. Clark admitted that the publication of the report is long overdue. In this week's edition of A Ray of Hope, short in limb but not in spirit.
A Ray of Hope is brought to you by
Sports Bringing Value Home.
Everything in life happens for a reason. It's a daily mantra Lauren Williamson uses to get by after losing his left leg.
It was traumatizing because at the time I had so much going on. Just completing school. I just applied for the Jamaica Constabulary Force and was looking into start to get enrollment to start training. But then this happened.
He was tossed off the back of a truck 4 years ago while on the job. Lauren was left with an on-the-spot ultimatum. Keep the damaged leg or amputate it.
I made a decision to actually amputate it.
And when he fell short in one area, he made up in another. He took up rowing.
I got curious. I saw it as an opportunity to really regain normality, to even participate in sports again because I was actually a cyclist.
Lauren's a Paralympic athlete and a certified coach for the Kingston Rowing Club at the Caribbean Maritime University. He regrets losing his leg, but being an optimist, Lauren believed it was destiny.
God must have had some purpose in life for me, seeing me while he actually spared my life. So I had to look forward at the same time. This happened, but I still could not make it a part of what my future will become. So I didn't see it as a setback. As a Jamaican normally say, get life and make lemonade.
His journey to becoming a coach was not easy.
When I started, it was pretty much, I was pretty much at a lot of disadvantage because the boat is not something that actually balances by itself. You have to mainly balance it. Then, because of the fact that I have more weight on one side, I have to try to come into my balance, and then it took me a while.
He says rowing helped to build him physically and mentally while giving him a sense of equality.
At the end of the race, you realize that even when you think you didn't have more, there was a lot left in you. It actually shows you that the sky is the limit. When you say you can't do something, just take a look at me doing it, and you'll see that there's much more that even you can do.
Laren's aim is to motivate others to do just as great or greater than expected.
Don't restrict yourself in life. You never know what tomorrow brings. I left my home on the 13th with my 2 legs. The next morning I woke up with 1. I didn't stop living. Don't take away that ticket from yourself. Give yourself that ticket so you can always have a chance in life.
With a ray of hope, I'm Kayan Morgan.
A Ray of Hope is
brought to you by
Sports Bringing Value Home.
Time now for the responses from our friends on Facebook and Twitter. And Archie is at the smartboard.
Thanks, Doreen. Here's a question this evening. We're asking what should be done to increase the safety of fishermen at sea. Here's our first comment. Ask the newly appointed Commissioner of Police, Anthony Anderson, or the newly appointed Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang. That is, if they do exist, says that person. Here's a second comment. They need proper gear and safety equipment. Also check with the Weather Channel for high tides before heading into deep sea. Here's a third. What can they do to protect themselves? Their safety comes first, so that they should think about that. On the other hand, proper disposal of garbage needed and regular patrols by the Coast Guard. And their final comment for this section is, are they fully licensed? If they are, do they adhere to what the license stipulates? Where safeguarding themselves is concerned. Because nowadays, you have some hurricane fishermen who think they can brave the high seas without nothing and end up losing them life doing so. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/televisionjamaica, and your tweets to @televisionjam. This is news and news from overseas. After the break.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Herman Green. The jobless rate in Jamaica has declined to a decade's low after thousands of people found work in 2017. The data were released by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, on Monday. Dashan Hendricks reports.
Jobs are being found, 22,600 in total last year. 900 has been in more than 50 years. That has just over 1.2 million Jamaicans were working. That was, however, lower than the record 1.213 million people who were working in July last year, when the unemployment rate was 11.3%. The lower unemployment rate in January is due to 33,000 fewer people seeking jobs compared to July last year. The unemployment data only count people who are working or seeking a job. Of note, though, is that youth unemployment has declined. 3 out of every 4 youth were in a job when the last survey was done in January. For the Business Day, I am Dashan Hendricks.
Oil prices closed higher today. Oil for delivery in June added 47 cents to settle at $68.47 a barrel. Oil rose almost 6% in April, the largest monthly gain since January. Currency trading ended today with the US dollar selling for $125.32. The Canadian dollar is costing $98.23. The pound sterling costs $172.28, while the euro is going for $151.69. Choco Caribbean Adventures has successfully closed a $2 billion dual currency bond offering. The bond, which was issued in both Jamaican and US dollars, will be used to refinance the company's existing debt and expansion. This was the first time Choco Caribbean has tapped the local capital markets, with Cygnus Capital as the lead arranger and Sagicor Investments the co-arranger. Choco Caribbean Adventures operates 7 attractions in Jamaica, as well as locations in the Turks and Caicos, Belize, and St. Lucia. The JSE index reached a record high today after gaining more than 2,155 points. The junior market index gained more than 3. Stocks posting gains included 1834 Investments, Elite Diagnostics, Jetcon, Lasco Distributors, Pan Jam Investments, Portland JSX, Sagicor Group, and Wisynco Group. On the losing end were Barita Investments, Carib Cement, Fosrich, G West Corporation, Jamaica Stock Exchange, Proven Investments, and VM Investments. And that's the Business Day. I'm Herman Green. Good evening.
Business Day is brought to you by
Talk with a Guardian advisor today.